Thank you for coming, everyone. Apologies for the delay after we had some technical issues, but welcome to the Bridging the Training Divide session. And if you haven't already signed into Slido, please go ahead and either scan the QR code or go to slido.com and put in the code Training Divide, which is all one word. And we have an initial poll for you to take while we get started. And you'll see the Training Divide code on each of the slides, so don't worry if you miss the code here, you'll still see the code on all the rest of the slides. Okay, I see someone taking a picture. Okay. So my name is Catherine Pitts, and my co-host for the session is Sherry Morris, who you'll hear more from later. And just a reminder, we're following the ESIP community participation guidelines, which I'm sure you've seen all week. So just be respectful and open and inclusive. And I'd also like to remind everyone, as you heard, this meeting is being recorded. Now, back to that Slido poll. And the question that it's going to be asking you is, I guess it won't. There we go. Let's move this to this side. There's the Slido code up there. If, when you first started working, tech support. I am too short and I'm too far away from the microphone. So the Slido poll will be asking you, when you first started working with Earth science or satellite data, what was your biggest personal hurdle or intimidation factor? So if you haven't answered the question, please do so now. I'm going to go over here. Let's see what the answers are thus far. We have, let me zoom out a little, maybe. Okay, so far, clunky software coding requirements is the biggest one, followed evenly by scientific jargon. I didn't even know the data existed. Oh, scientific jargon again. And complex, unfamiliar file formats. Other. All right, let's see what those other answers were. Was an R programmer, not Python. No remote sensing background. How to learn about opportunities and limitations. Oh, those are good answers. So you can continue answering this if you haven't already, but the purpose of this was to get you in the novice mindset. When you first started working with Earth observation data, what were your barriers? So now let's go back to the session. So the inspiration for this session was encompassed very well by this graphic, which comes from an EOS article that has the authors telling us that the traditional pipeline model of workforce development no longer really captures the reality of a modern STEM career. And they ask us to instead envision a new model that, among other things, recognizes the many on-ramps and pathways and career pivots that real life induces. And they call this the braided river model. And so as you can see in the pictures, there's lots of ways in and out of the STEM workforce. And for our session, we're going to focus in on just this little section right here, this little stream kind of in between the four-year college and the grad programs, the many ways to engage and advance. And that focus for today is how to choose training methodologies to inspire, engage, and recruit college students from diverse educational backgrounds into the Earth observation workforce. And we are proposing that two key takeaway messages to do that is, first, lead with the hook, not the tech. And second, match the training style to the persona. When we say lead with the hook, we're saying that to inspire college students from diverse educational backgrounds, training that leads with societal impact, for instance, natural hazards, or some other kind of creative challenge of the application of Earth data will better resonate with students, especially those without a remote sensing or data background. And matching the style to the persona, which means that a student's major and interests outside of academia can combine to dictate their engagement trigger. And there are a few different training styles that we'll go over in more detail in a minute, but across all of those different training and engagement styles, they will bridge a student's background with Earth science while also building up their resume. So that's a nice perk. And the first of those styles is the hackathon. And we're considering this the low stakes gamble because it uses competition, teamwork, and free food, typically if you're in person, to lure in a diverse set of majors who just want to build cool things over a short time period. And we think this is best for breaking the intimidation barrier for students who think you need a STEM degree to look at Earth observation data. Some examples of those are the NOAA Satellites Hackathon, the Ocean Hack Week, and NASA Space Apps. Obviously not all encompassing here. The next training style is guided curriculums, and we're calling this the Major Enhancer. It uses flexible learning tracks like self-paced online modules or short workshops, whether online or in person, to let students enhance their field of study with Earth data and providing either some kind of certificate of completion or other professional certificates that they can add to their resume right away. And this is best for retaining students after the initial hook by offering some clear, manageable pathways that turn their curiosity about Earth data into practical industry-relevant assets. And some examples of that are the Comet MedEd program and the NASA RSET program. And finally, we have local and global collaborations, which you could consider more of an engagement style, but there are usually training or other learning opportunities within them. So these are the impact drivers. They can connect students to global humanitarian issues, environmental justice, or disaster response, among other things. And this is best for bringing in students who prioritize societal impact, local activism, and climate justice over abstract science. And some examples of these are EOTech DevNet and CEOS. Now, all of these I have summarized in this table here, and it's also in the collaborative notes doc, which if you haven't already opened, I encourage you to. And if I can find the tab. Yes, we are signed in, don't worry. So if you open up our collaborative notes doc, which you'll find in our session, over on the side, you'll see a bunch of tabs. So the recruitment strategies is where you'll find all the information I just summarized, followed by these training styles. So if there are other examples you want to link in here, because like I said, this is not all encompassing, please add them. If there are other training styles that we're not focusing on today that you think would also be impactful for pulling in college students, by all means, add it to a new row. All right, now back over here. Now that I've given you a preview of what we're doing, the next thing we're going to do is just go into some short presentations on specific examples for these three training styles. And the first one is going to be about the hackathon, and specifically the NOAA Satellites Hackathon, which is what I will be talking to you about. I'm your first presenter, so you are stuck with me still. So the NOAA Satellites Hackathon is actually the third iteration of hackathons that was created by the GOES-R satellite program. And it came about because we had an intern who would not have gotten into the field of satellite meteorology had she not randomly taken a class on this subject during her undergrad years. And so she wanted to find new ways to bring in other college students, particularly undergrads, into the Earth observation workforce. And so the GOES-R Hackathon was formed and has gone through many name changes over the years, but they're all essentially the same. And regardless of the event, they had these in common. They were an educational event for college students of any major to join, where they could instantly apply the skills and knowledge that they learned in the training sessions that we provide to a group project. And those training sessions included background information and resources on the satellite data and other things needed for the competition. We provided coding exercises, and we also gave them access to subject matter experts who they could ask questions of. And the entire event was virtual and culminated in a competition where there were some prizes to win for the winning team. And like I said, it has changed names over the years, but essentially the same, except that after the end of each event, we sent out a post-event survey, and we asked our students who participated and our volunteers what they thought of the event, what we could do better, and we took those plus the lessons learned from our own experiences there and applied those to the following event to make it even better the next time around. So if you look just at the 2025 NOAA Sat Hack, because I don't have time to go over all this with you, this is how we set it up. It was for undergraduate and graduate students worldwide because it was virtual. But we just needed them to know that all the live events were taking place in the US East Coast time zone. For the challenges, we narrowed down to just one challenge that was focused on environmental hazard communication. We found for the training sessions, having a mix of both live and pre-recorded training sessions worked best for the mix of students that were in there, because students who really wanted to ask trainers questions made it a point to get to the live sessions, but sometimes people had conflicts. And so we recorded those live sessions and they watched them later. We also pre-recorded the coding workshops so that students could go through them at their own pace and practice the coding on their own. As far as team creation went, we had the teams self-select themselves based on one of the predetermined topics. So we had 9 natural hazard topics and said, go forth and choose which topic you want to be working on. We just wanted to make sure that we had at least one graduate student and one proficient coder on each team, but otherwise it was a free-for-all. In the competition, we had just 1 week because it was virtual. Students and our volunteers typically had other obligations outside of just, huddling in a room working on this like you would in a live event. So they had family, school, work obligations. So 1 week was enough for students to work on the project and take care of those other things, as well as our volunteers to be available for the students, but then also take care of their other responsibilities without overwhelming everyone. So with the setup, we had some goals in mind, and the first was to expand the knowledge and skill set of these students, and we did those through our training sessions, like I mentioned. They were about the satellites, the instruments, the products, how to visualize and code the data, and how to make eye candy with the data and communicate it to general audiences. We wanted to encourage innovative solutions through interdisciplinary teams. And so during our first event, the GoZar Hackathon, it was our pilot event, so we restricted it to just undergraduate students. So that's why you see those blue bars are just for the undergraduate years. But for the following 2 events, it was pretty well split between graduate students and undergraduate students. And though I'm not showing it here, it was also pretty well split between proficient coders and novice or non-coders. So we had some good peer mentoring going on in both directions there. And because any major could join, here's a word cloud of all the majors of the students who participated. And given that GoZar is primarily a weather mission, it's no surprise that meteorology, atmospheric science, and computer science, for those people who like to code, would be the top majors that you see shown here. But what I thought was really interesting was that we had a lot of different engineering students: computer engineering, civil engineering, electrical engineering, mechanical engineering. This made me think that perhaps these students wanted to blend their engineering education with Earth observations to apply to some kind of societal impact, like natural hazards. We wanted to engage students through collaborative competition and exposure to experts in Earth and space science fields. And those experts came in as our volunteers. They were our team mentors, our trainers, our subject matter experts, and our judges. We wanted to award students with recognition for great ideas, leadership, and teamwork. And the winning team had a plethora of prizes, with the grand prize, depending on the year, was either free virtual registration for the January ESIP meeting and or a launch pass nomination for an upcoming GO satellite launch from Cape Canaveral in Florida. And it was really cool to see that some students were able to make it out for the latest GO's launch. And ultimately, we wanted to inspire students to be the next generation of satellite data users. And based on those post-event surveys, I think we've reached our goals. And as much as I'd love to get into more about all the events and all the cool projects that the students did, I'll leave you here with a sneak peek of the winning projects. And if you want to see more about the events or these projects, I will refer you to one of the event websites, or you can put a question in the Slido Q&A now, or reach out to me later at my email, catherine.pitts@noaa.gov, and I'll get back to you at that point. So now, let's see. I don't think I mentioned that we had the Q&A ahead of time, so I don't think we'll have any at the moment, but I'll check just in case. Are there any in the Zoom chat? No. Okay. So if there are any questions for me, I'll check the Q&A later. How are students recruited for the hackathon? We promoted it at universities and as well as different conferences like AGU and AMS. We had posters on it. We put swag all around the poster board. So, make sure that get the students coming over for the swag and then tell them about the event. And yeah, it's free to join. So lots of students joined.
And we actually had students who had one year recruit others.
Sherry's answering a question.
We actually had is it up? There
Yes,
we go.
yes.
We actually had students who had won the first year recruit students. They ended up going into grad school, and they were ending up being one student ended up being a judge, separate on a different hackathon. Then they had recruited other people, so they recruited others.
Yeah, I see another question. What did retention look like over the span of the week? Was there any problem with students ghosting their teams? Yes, unfortunately, there was, which is why on the team creation, it was different every single year because we were trying to find ways to keep the students in there. So this last time around, I think just letting them do whatever topic they wanted was the best way to keep retention, though we still had some people who ghosted, but it was definitely not as many as the previous years. So letting students choose their own topic and teams was definitely the best way to go about it. In future hackathons, can students use AI to address challenges? Yes, and they have. They've already done that in some of the previous events, and it turned out to be really cool projects. All right, I'm going to let that sit for now, and we're going to move on to the next talk, which is about crowded curriculums, and that is about NASA RSET, which my colleague here, Sherry Morris, will be presenting on. So Sherry, come on up.
Hello, I am Sherry Morris. As you know, I worked with Katie with the GOES-R satellite team and did user engagement there, and now I am with NASA RSET. I think a lot of you in the room are familiar with the RSET team already, so mine is a little bit shorter so we can get to the more interesting presentations. Obviously, RSET provides cost-free training with open access and open source data. We have training sessions from fundamentals, which is no remote sensing knowledge at all, to beginner, intermediate, and advanced training sessions. And the RSET training team is divided into 6 general training categories: agriculture, disasters, ecological conservation, health and air quality, water resources, and wildland fires. We have instructional design teams that work with the trainers and the subject matter experts to build these training sessions. Obviously, at times, if you're talking about a disaster, you might have the water resources team with the wildland fires team or ecological conservation team. So the teams are not necessarily separate when they do their training sessions. We started a year and a half ago, a fundamentals of remote sensing training, and we have had 20,000 people register and 9,000 certificates of completion. It's amazing. We actually also started a Spanish fundamentals a couple of months ago, so we're getting that going as well. We have about 25 on live online training instructor-led trainings that is a virtual training session. And this NICER training, we had 1,000 people attend. It is in English and in Spanish. So we would take the English training session, and that was presented in the morning. It was a 3-part training. And then the same presentation was done in Spanish in the afternoon. And the question and answers were done in Spanish as well for the Spanish sessions. All of this data is recorded, the slides, the recordings, the resources that are available, and the question and answer discussion are all available online. So if people have missed the session, they can go back and watch it. And then we've ramped up a little bit more on the in-person trainings. We're trying to do a little bit more with that to have an impact and expand the users that are using the satellite data. For 2025, we had 26 trainings. We had over 29,000 people attend these trainings from 176 countries, all 50 states, and some of the U.S. territories. We reached over 8,600 organizations. And what is amazing is we had 5,000 new organizations in 2025, which means we are expanding and reaching out to others in different organizations. And because this talk is about students, the greatest number here is that when people were registering for the sessions and they identified themselves, the student sector was the largest sector of people attending this training. And then a student, the faculty, and then the general academia sector was 51% of the people attending. So we're reaching the academia community. So here's the website. You can, I'm sure you all know where the Earth Action and Earth Data information is in the RSET site, but here this is. And I do need to also advertise our water resource training that'll start next week on Earth observations of reservoir and water utility management. And this is an introductory level course. And the plans with the trainers and SMEs is to have the intermediate course in 2027. And the prerequisite will be having this participants either have taken this course or have reviewed this course before they take the intermediate training next year. And then hopefully the year after that, we'll do the advanced training. So we can keep engaging and training. And that is it. And if you have any questions for me, please let me know.
There is one question online, and it says, can anyone watch the RSET recordings later, or do you have to have registered for the event?
All of the trainings are available online. You do not need to watch the training live. All of the previous trainings. And we're actually running into an issue where some of the trainings are now outdated, like some of the data are no longer, or the products are not necessarily available. And we're working on noting that in some of the archived training sessions, but some of the data may be applicable or referenced in recent trainings. So we're not deleting anything.
So for your certificates, how do you handle that? What are the requirements for getting the certificate?
So for the fundamentals, there is a homework that you do need to answer, and it is tracked in the learning management system. So for the fundamentals and the online training, for the live training, you do need to attend all parts of the training session. And then 2 weeks after the training has ended, you need to answer the homework assignment and submit that as well. So the WebEx tracks the participants who have attended the training, and then those who have also submitted the homework receive the certificates of completion.
This is more of a comment, but I did finish the NISAR training a couple of weeks ago, and it was fantastic. And I highly recommend anybody to do that.
That's great. Thank you. I will pass that along.
I also wanted to make a quick comment, more of a plug for you all, because we recently organized an ATL 24 bathymetry training with RSET in December of last year, and it was a very good experience. The team is phenomenal, so I just wanted to put that in there, that the RSET trainings are fantastic.
And I know we're starting the plans for, thank you very much. Yes. We're starting the plans for 2027, and I have met some folks here who are interested in looking at having some training, so I'll pass that along when I get home next week. So thank you. It is a well-oiled machine, from instructional designers to trainers across all of these disciplines, and then pulling subject matter experts in, and the communications team, which reviews everything as well, posts.
And there are no more questions online.
Oh, okay. Do you want to pull it up that way? I got it.
All right. Thank you very much, Sherry. And next up, we will have the talk on the local and global collaboration, specifically on EOTech DevNet, which will be given virtually by our colleague, Erin Martin. Erin, are you online? There we go.
Yeah. Hi, everybody. Great to be with you. And sorry I'm not there in person. I would love to be there in person, but I'm happy at least to have this opportunity to be with you. Please let me know if you can't hear me or you can't see my presentation, but I'm going to assume that the tech is working. So
looks good. Thank you.
It is. Okay, great. Excellent. So I'm going to share from a very different perspective because EOTech DevNet, the Earth Observation Training, Education, and Capacity Development Network, is not actually a training provider. We've existed for 5 years, and we were created by CEOS, the Committee on Earth Observation Satellites, to leverage the vast resources that exist globally, the vast EO capacity building resources that exist globally. So our sole purpose is to try to push training and resources and out to users and to people who want to learn. And we were created initially thinking very specifically about national government ministries and people who were in charge of capacity building in those ministries. But we very quickly found, kind of like RSET with a huge percentage of student learners that they have, that students and early career professionals were attracted to our work. So we aren't necessarily reaching out to them directly, but they are finding us and they are telling us what their needs are and what their interests are. And so we're trying to adapt to help them and to serve them. So let me just talk a little bit about where we are right now and why we think this is so important. And it's very much a global conversation, not just a US-based conversation, but we're seeing two converging dynamics that are really shaping EO capacity development. And the first of them is that the demand for EO, as you all well know, is just mushrooming across sectors, whether it's banking or insurance or the energy sector. There's such a huge demand for EO, and very often it's people who like me. I wrote that comment about having no remote sensing experience because that was me. They come to it knowing that the data is useful and helpful and can really, really spring their work forward, but they don't necessarily have the technical skills and they don't have the time and they may not even have the interest in doing it. And that's actually something we're seeing just as much in the student population, the early career population, is that there are people who are coming saying, I'm interested in health, or I'm interested in water security, but I don't necessarily want to become a remote sensing scientist, but I want to use the data. So we're finding that the training and the capacity building needs to account for that. And that population is growing so quickly, it's hard to keep up with that demand. And then, of course, I don't need to tell anybody about the impact of AI and how AI is changing not only the way analysis is done, but also the way that the training is being delivered and the expectations that people have for training and the way that users are using the data. So it's really reshaping our thinking in so many different ways. And I put this quote here from IEEE GRSS just to show that there is a real strong consensus, kind of echoes what was in that EOS infographic, that we are not keeping up with the demand, and as trainers, we're not moving quickly enough to be able to adapt and to be able to provide the workforce with what they need. And it is really a workforce issue. We've heard from European colleagues. We partner with the European Association of Remote Sensing Companies, which is a private sector group, but also includes some space agencies. And they do a survey every year with industry, asking about whether the industry is finding the employees that they need. And consistently for several years, it's been well over 80% of respondents saying that they're having difficulty finding employees with the right skills. So, and it's not just the technical skills, but it's also things like the downstream space sector, the educational skills, and the soft skills, the transversal skills. So there's really, if the fire is not lit underneath us now, it really should be, because we've got a lot of work to do. So here's where EOTech DevNet comes in. Here's our little piece of what we're trying to do. As I mentioned, we were created by CEOS. And the aim was to bring together the major global providers of capacity building. So WMO, as you may know, has a huge training and educational program. They also have VLab, which is a partnership with CGMS. Then there's UNUSA that has a lot of training capacity building, especially through UN Spider, its disasters platform. GEO, of course, the group on Earth observations, is doing a tremendous amount of work. So the idea was to bring all these providers together and think about leveraging and promoting collaboration with them and trying to get what all those resources and space agency and meteorological agency resources out. So we work through 4 regional communities of practice around the globe. Within those communities of practice, we have technical working groups right now on floods and droughts, and we're trying to scale up to climate resilience. It's a little bit of a challenge because we have a small secretariat, but we're trying to grow there. And at the moment, we have more than 2,500 people who are engaged in some way in our work. But the idea is that we're using the networks of these global partners to try to reach more people around the globe. So our key strategic approach is promoting access and discoverability. We see ourselves as an information hub. We're building tools to guide users, and we're also doing guidance on best practices. And I'm going to talk a little bit more in detail about 2 of those things. So the information hub, I mentioned these global networks, but almost all of them have their own regional networks. So you know, WMO has its centers of excellence. UNUSA also has their regional centers that are working on space information and capacity building. And so we're trying to really dive deeply into those using the social media, especially LinkedIn. That's really our best platform. We also do these frequent community of practice meetings. Every quarter, there's rotating either floods, droughts, or a general capacity building, EO capacity building task team. We also do webinars twice a year, and that's where we're really getting a lot of traction with the webinars and seeing a lot of students coming to those. So that's our information hub role. But the thing that we've really drilled down on in the last 2 years is more of the discoverability and access components, and we've created a flood tools tracker. It doesn't track floods, it tracks tools for monitoring floods. And it's a searchable database with tools, and also has capacity building resources. And then we're working on, in a matter of hopefully something like 8 to 10 weeks, we're launching a similar product that's a drought tools tracker. And CS has been really helpful in providing the technical backbone for that. But it gives the opportunity for people to come and say, I need some data, and there's so many tools out there. What's there for me? The nut that we haven't cracked yet is really giving people a sense of perspective about what's the best tool, or what's the tool that's really going to help them. The user's still having to navigate a little bit and figure out what's the best tool for the challenge that they're trying to solve. The other thing we've tried to do is to make it easier for you potential users and learners to find the training. And that's, as you well know, everybody's got training. The European Space Agency has 4 or 5 different platforms. You know, we've got RSED, there's so many different places. And so we created this platform, Places to Find Training, that's on our website. It's web-based, and that is searchable by region, by language, and by what we call focus. So you can either look for an applied area if you're interested in disasters, or you're interested in land management, or if you're looking for SAR training or hyperspectral training, you can search by those categories. And we're also adding a new category about cost. So whether it's cost-free, or whether there's some cost associated with the training. So that's been wildly successful. We've had a lot of visitors there, a lot of traffic on the website looking at that. We also do, we've got an EO capacity building needs assessment guidance and interactive tool on our website. I won't go into that because it's not quite so relevant, but I just want to talk a little bit about what we're hearing globally about priorities for EO capacity building and what learners are looking for. Improving discoverability is a constant refrain. We hear that regularly. But the thing that's evolving is that people are asking for more curated information. They're asking for learning pathways. They want us to really invest in tagging resources better so it's easier to find things. And there's some standards in the way things are tagged. We're finding young people particularly really want those curated pathways, and they're looking for AI-assisted journeys to help them. So we're actually looking at that, Places to Find Training. We're looking at whether we might be able to add a layer of a bot layer so that people could come and find there. Also, we're hearing a lot about practical application-focused training, and based on case studies and based on use, and really being able to dive into fit-for-purpose kinds of activities that will help people really scale up and start using the data quickly. There's also a lot, I won't even go into AI because everybody wants AI, of course, more training on that. But there's also just this point about tailoring and local engagement and people really wanting things to be localized to their environment and be able to dive in and do very practical hands-on things that are connected to their environment. So this was feedback from a webinar that we did in June. We also did a survey before that. We had 200 responses, and these are the kinds of things. And I think it corroborates a lot of what Katie was saying and what was in that EOS infographic. So I think that's there. So what we're doing, we're continuing to listen, and we're trying to help people evolve. One of the challenges is that some of the training providers themselves don't have the capacity to provide the kinds of training that some people are looking for now, especially young people. The AI, for example, is the Indian Space Research Organization. We work a lot with them. They're part of our leadership team, and they're working on scaling up AI training because they don't have it themselves yet. They're not in a position to be able to provide the training yet. So everything is happening so quickly. So your point, Sherry, about needing to update the training resonated with me. But just as closing out, I just wanted to share another quote from this global survey that IEEE GRSS did in 2025. It's reinforcing a lot of the same points about student outreach, modernizing curricula, strengthening the internship and apprenticeship pipelines, creating more accessible pathways into the profession. I think that's our big challenge, is that we as capacity builders are having to find ways to adapt to that, and the rapid changes, and recognizing that younger people are such quick adapters of technology. The demand from them is strong there. So that just a little bit about what EOTech does. We'd love to have you involved in our work. I can share more of this. I can put some links in the chat, but we have a great community. Sherry's been very active, and really grateful for her support, and look forward to seeing you all sometime soon. Look forward to the rest of the discussion. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Erin. Wonderful. We have a couple questions for you online. One in Slido. It has always bothered me that NASA has training for only NASA platforms, which is very good, when there are additional excellent observing platforms from other agencies and private sector. Same for NOAA training. Is there an approach to include more data sources?
Oh, absolutely. I think if you go to our places to find training, you'll see it's from all reaches of the globe. There is a preponderance of Northern Hemisphere providers, because ESA has a huge body, EU MetSat has a huge body of training. And they've are able to leverage a lot of the online technologies to make it available. But you'll also find things from SANSA, for example, the South African Space Agency, and a lot of providers around the world. There's a really interesting EO project working specifically on EO capacity building in Africa. So we've got all their training, Digital Earth Africa, Digital Earth Pacific, if you know those organizations. Those training resources are there. So very much trying to make this as global as possible, and the tools as well.
Great. One in the Zoom chat from Larissa. From your perspective, what are the greatest opportunities and the biggest challenges for strengthening U.S. international collaboration in sharing Earth observation satellite data and translating those data into actionable environmental intelligence that benefits communities around the world?
Ooh, that's a big one. I might have to throw that back to the community to discuss. I would just say, I think that I loved the point in Katie's presentation about the hook and about igniting people's passion. And I think that's a key stepping stone when we're talking about early career and students, is really tapping into their passions. And I think that may be a great way to catalyze change. But I think it's such a big question. I think I would pass it back to the group to discuss.
Thanks. And I see, Larissa, you've come on video and off mute. Did you want to add anything?
Yeah, thank you very much for all of the presenters. It's fantastic, and it's such a privilege and an honor to be here. I just want to connect face with a name. I'm a new ESIP Education Committee chair. So for all of you who are interested in outreaching to students and educators, we would love to have you in our monthly calls. So it's not just once a year conference. So please consider giving your time as a gift. So, and make sure that when I will call for your help, just find some space in your schedule. So anyway, it's basically an elephant in the room, if I may say so, in terms of international collaboration, especially that many of us experiencing, like NASA and NOAA as a government agencies, they going through a restructuring process, and there are other sort of new barriers, if you will, in terms of international collaboration. So from your perspective, from your experience, what are basically the new taboos, if there are any of them, to really, because one thing, if you develop collaboration, international collaboration based on the bilateral agreements, right? Erin, I don't know if your organization going to that area, but if you're not a government agency and if you're not really dealing with the bilateral agreements, logistical side, so how you do that basically business with different countries if you are if you're in the US, and because it's such a sensitive area of expertise, quite frankly. So and there are new sort of regulations and to do's and not to do. So I just really, I'm interested. I know you don't have any answers and many answers to all of these questions, but how are you managing it? So what's your approach?
I can't actually just thank you. Your elaboration really clarifies the question a little bit more for me. And the thing I can tell you is that one of the specific strategies in creating this network was to keep it informal. And we don't have formalized agreements with any of the agencies the global agencies I mentioned that are they're part of our leadership team. It's all voluntary participation and informal, and that really has saved us from having so much either protocol or restrictions to need to negotiate at a higher level. We've been able to operate very informally. That said, we're not doing anything that's very sensitive. Generally, we're supporting all those agencies, and we're helping them get their resources to people, and then bringing the needs from the community back to them. So that informal collaboration that has helped us. The flip side of it is that everybody still is so busy. They still have their agency work to do. They still have their agency priorities, but increasingly, many of them are aligned with what they're trying to do. They see the imperative to build their own workforces, and they also see the opportunity to collaborate with other countries in building more, having a bigger user community, having more companies interested and able to use Earth observation information. So there is some alignment, and I guess that's where we stay with. We don't go into anything that's sensitive. We stay in the areas where there is alignment and consensus, and try to leverage that.
Thank you, Erin. Quick follow-up. What's the status of is it a company or nonprofit or LLC? What is it?
It's a network of networks that doesn't exist on paper. We have a partner in Germany who's part of this EO college, and they are an NGO. We're registered. It's not quite in German law. It's not quite an NGO, but they are registered, and so
sure
they can receive funds. If we were to raise money and they could receive funds. So we do have that little bit of a legal anchor there, but otherwise we operate informally as a community of practice.
All right, great. Thank you very much. I don't want to occupy the floor. I will type a couple more questions in the chat room. Thank you.
Thanks, Larissa, for that. And thank you, Erin. Are there any other questions in the room for Erin? Okay, in that case, let me switch computers.
Thank you.
All right, move the camera. Okay, too short again. Okay, there we go. All right, let me minimize that. Okay, we have gone through our presentations, we have asked and answered questions, and now it is time to, go into our little group activities. Okay. So the first one, I'll explain it first, and then we will get settled. So the first thing we're going to do is going to create groups. So I think one group online and maybe 2 or 3 groups in here. And then you will get the super secret character card. These are some student personas, and they will tell you, what grade they're in, what their majors are, their interests and hobbies, and their barriers to entry for using our Earth observation data. And based on the character you get, you will discuss within your group that you have to recruit this persona on a college campus to learn about satellite data of Earth observations. Which of the 3 training or engagement styles do you deploy? And what is your 30-second hook to get them to show up? And the person who will be taking notes, the step 2, assign the scribe, is who lives farthest from Austin. So that is your designated scribe for this activity. And so you can answer these. If you go back to our collaborative notes doc, you'll see there's a student personas tab, and I'll have the text version of all of these cards. And then down below these sub-tabs, depending on which card you get, you'll go into that person's. So the creative visualizer is Maya, so that's just a copy of the card for fun's sake. And you'll see a copy of the text of this activity. And so the scribe, you can just write your notes down here, and at the end of time, we'll say maybe 10 minutes, we will get some feedback from you all about this. So I will show this again up here. So go ahead and go into groups, and our tech host here will create a breakout room for those of you online, and then I'll pop online in a moment and show you which of the personality cards that you get. All right, break. Yes. All right. I will not go into group, but everyone else online can go into a breakout room. I'll move this off to the side somewhere, so that everyone can still see the text. Oh no. Okay. Thank you, Gabby. Gabby, our wonderful tech host. All right, groups of 3 or 4. Eli, I guess you're going to have to move over. All right, welcome back to our online participants and everyone in the room. Hope you've wrapped up, because we're about to start doing some reflection.
Yeah. All right. You guys ready? So.
No.
We want you to bring artists. They're not ready.
They're not ready. Someone's still working. Okay, who's ready to give their feedback? You look ready. Okay, let's get the yeah, so quick summary. You don't have to read the whole card of your persona, and then where you went with them.
Our group had Marcus, the policy advocate, who's a first-year grad student interested in urban planning and policy making and making an impact in his community, but without clunky software, and really wants to find data that he can work with. So our pitch, seeing Marcus walk down the halls, is, hey, Marcus, you should join our upcoming Hack Week. You don't need any software experience to join, and it's a collaborative and interdisciplinary opportunity to use data to solve problems here in our community. And you get tacos.
Oh, nice. Tacos, awesome.
Okay. Here's our.
Yeah. Who was your person?
Hi. Our persona is Maya, the creative visualizer. And she's passionately wants to use her art to communicate the visible impacts of climate change, like deforestation or urban heat islands, to the general public. All right. And so Are we giving our hook or are we giving our?
Yeah, you can quickly say what you, what type of training and your hook.
Type of training. So we're doing, it's not a hackathon, it's not competitive. It's a hack week, but it's ArtSat. And so the idea is like we have visual arts, audio arts tracks, film, and they are creating some kind of art thing combining satellite imagery in some way. If you haven't ever seen this, some really cool things have come out of using imagery where they translate the colors in the image into notes, and as you move around, it makes music. Yeah, that's the one I'm thinking about. Yeah, we had a garage band one. Last we're at Ocean Hack Week, they created music by they allowed users to like import different ocean sounds and then sample from that and put it all together and make music. Oh my God, everyone just loved it. Anyhow, so that's the idea. It's like ArtSat Hack Week, and the hook, Earth from Space is art, or make art from Earth from space, something like that, and come interact with satellite imagery and create something beautiful. We invite artists and coders alike for a week of art collaboration, and creation.
Excellent. Yes. And talk.
And talks.
We definitely had a similar challenge. We had Visualize the View was the challenge title because we wanted them to make cool art with satellite imagery. So yeah.
Visualize
the view.
Visualize it. So that's
All right, team in the back. Who was your person?
I was the person. I have now lost my tab because I have too many tabs open on my screen, which I'm sure nobody knows. There we go. All right. Okay, so we had the Liam, the tech builder. Liam is a sophomore, computer science and data analytics. Hobbies are, what do we say, gaming, APIs, and what's the middle icon? There's a middle icon there. Building mobile apps, gaming, and disaster relief work. Loves optimizing data pipelines. I want to meet this sophomore here. Building localized apps that pulls environmental data to alert communities, such as active flood risks or air quality anomalies. Barriers to entry here are technical jargon and data discovery. Has some misconceptions about data accessibility. So we picked the hackathon. We thought that would fit really well with him. And the pitch here is that it sounds like he has a great idea for a group hackathon project. And we're going to open with, did you know that the data is actually open? And you can access it right now. You should come and work with some climatology majors and maybe some NASA NOAA folks to come create that nifty app that you just proposed there. And writing up code is similar to gaming, and you can have you thought about trying to gamify disaster awareness or something along those lines? So riff and build off of what he's already expressed interest in.
Very nice. Gamifying is always a fun way to get people involved.
And I want to do a shout out because
with the help of AI. Thanks, Gemini. All right, our online team, Erin and Larissa. Who was your person?
We had Priya, the health champion.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Erin.
Yeah, thank you. And by the way, my camera died for some reason. This happened yesterday in the session yesterday, but it doesn't like the interface. But I'm here. So we had Priya, and we thought as a health person, she is she's people oriented and a systems thinker. So we thought we should capitalize on that. We thought our pitch would be something like help people stay healthy. And we could persuade her to join by saying, what if you had new information to help people stay healthy and avoid illness? For example, cardiovascular illnesses, heat-related illnesses, and many communicable disease. Management of all of these can benefit from the use of satellite data and Earth information. Join us to work with students around the world and learn how satellite data can improve your data and analysis. Join our field activity to learn how you can use real satellite data to improve public health and work with students around the world. So we chose the global and local approach, and we thought specifically about tailoring the tailored activity to what she would be interested in would be a field activity. So like some kind of collaborative research with others, maybe something working in a community or some kind of short-term study that she could do with others in the field, that would get her connected to people. So
thank you, Erin. Great
Feel
summary.
Free to add on. Feel free to add on.
No, you covered it all. Thank you very much. Excellent job.
Thank you very much. And I apologize for the confusion. I didn't realize I was not sharing my screen with you guys earlier, which would explain why you did not see the initial activities. But okay, thank you everyone for this. Now, activity 2 on this one. We will be switching or getting a new one because there are 2 unused ones. Their persona card with another group, and you'll have a new scribe. That scribe is whose birthday is closest to today. If that happens to be the same person, you can just change it to someone else. Okay, now your discussion prompt for this one is, your target student is hooked and wants to solve their problem, but they need the skills to actually do it. What is the first immediate micro skill they need to build so they can successfully apply this training to their initial idea? And how do you structure this capacity building moment so they instantly see their own problem solving progress? So
Our same person, right?
a new person. So you can start thinking differently. So you'll either switch with another group or get a new one from Sherry, and the online group go into a breakout room again and we'll give you your new persona. All right, we are back. Time for reflection. Sorry, we had some, the session goes way too fast. All right, now I gotta find Zoom. I guess because I'm screen sharing. Let me stop sharing. Now I see our online people. Online people, would you like to go first?
Yeah, and I would love to refer again to my amazing collaborator. Her name is Erin.
We have a mutual admiration society going in our breakout room.
We do. Go ahead, Erin.
We've already made a plan to meet for coffee.
Yes.
Because we're very geographically close, so that works well. But anyway, we can jump in and just share a little bit of what we did. So we had the storyteller, and her name is Elena, and she's a journalist, and she's very interested in writing about sea surface temperatures and how it's disrupting local fishing communities. So we thought 2 mini skills that would be super helpful, rather than trying to explain this is what data is and how you use it, helping her develop skills to formulate the right questions and thinking about what are the right questions to ask to get the level of information and data that she's going to need for her story. And then the second thing was to think about looking at a satellite image and helping her develop skills to be able to understand one satellite image that would be relevant to her theme and to the reporting she's done already, and be able to integrate that image into her story. And we thought both of those would give her the substance she needs to get the work done, and it would give her confidence to keep doing it and do more. So that's what we thought.
Excellent. You got it, Erin. As always.
Thank you so much. Yeah, that's great. That's great. Especially the, figuring out the right questions to ask. That's definitely a good skill to have, especially if you're like a journalist. So, okay. Who would like to go next in the room? We can go next. So we have Maya. Do we have the microphone? Where's the microphone? Sherry's on it.
Okay, so we have Maya, the creative visualizer, and Maya is really into fiber arts, but she wants to use satellite imagery to create things. And so, no knock on NASA's work, but we would first introduce Maya to Google Earth Engine, because they have a lot of products that are already pre-done, such as NDVI, and it's an easy way to visualize this thing, and it has a global view as well. part of that is to actually show her how to find data, such as like a geotiff, and add it so she can add data that's relevant to what she's interested in. And with that data, that she's able to embroider satellite images, because that's what she does, is embroidery. So they can immediately see their progress by they have an image where they've seen an existing image, they can modify it, and then they can do all the stuff to get the picture to do the embroidery, but they don't have to install or learn new software. It's fairly low barrier.
Yeah, excellent. Google Earth Engine is great for that. Next group.
Okay. Sure. This is your note taker. All right. So our persona was the policy advocate, Marcus. He wants to use real environmental data to prove that low-income neighborhoods in a city are suffering from disproportionate environmental hazards like lack of tree canopy or poor air quality to lobby for policy change. But he doesn't have the time to learn complex, heavy desktop GIS software to just extract a single trend line or simple map for a policy brief. Okay, so we decided that Marcus's micro skill would be like learning how to kind of be a product owner, if you're familiar with agile lingo, and how do you pitch a project and build a team. So this idea that you have teams and it's a multidisciplinary team and people take on different roles, and the role of the person is pitching a project and kind of guiding of what it kind of looks like is a really key part of that. So teaching them how to do that. And then also like during the process of as the team is building something and like solving things, what is the role of the product owner? How does the product owner engage with the team and help like guide it?
Yeah, definitely a good skill to have. Pitching a project and how to build a team. Okay, our last group.
All right, so we had a market analyst. And so this person is interested in smart farming, commodities trading, fantasy sports, and drone flying, and wants to leverage remote sensing data to forecast crop yields, assess drought damage, and advise local farmers on market risks and sustainable water management. Does not like clunky software and is disconnected from formatting. So he is stuck in spreadsheets. So we had a sort of a similar response to the prior group. For one of our answers here is build his collaboration capacities and give him a strategic partner, and task him and talk about collaboration, design, and logistics. So essentially what you were describing as product owner in the agile space. We also thought about giving him, so what he's asking for is relatively common. And so giving him a well-commented, good, well-documented Jupyter or Quartile document that almost did what he wanted, and then showing him how to modify the code base. So this is, in my experience with students, a good way to get them started with programming is to give them something that's almost there and then ask them to change it just a tiny bit to make it slightly less intimidating.
Yeah, definitely. I love Jupyter Notebooks for that reason.
So I'm a big fan of R and Quarto. I know that that's not a huge hit in the satellite community, but it's a lot easier for students to maintain than a Python install. So that's just something to think about. And they can still run it locally on their desktop, on their laptop. So you're not reliant on a cloud service that you might not have access to, or a cloud environment that you might not have access to after the case. So just a pitch there for R.
Well, thank you very much to all of our teams for taking part in these two activities. And we're out of time, but the last two things I wanted to ask was, did the recruitment strategies and training methodologies that we described work for your student personas? If not, what worked better? And, did the activities here help you think through how to better inspire, engage, and or recruit college students from diverse educational backgrounds? You can answer them in the doc, you can answer them now if you feel like staying over, but otherwise our time is up. So I won't keep you any longer than necessary unless you're like really eager to answer one of these questions right now. People want to go and do Funding Friday poster making. Okay. Thank you, everyone. Thank you to Gabby, our tech house. Thank you to my co-host, Sherry, and thank you all for participating.